Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episode review. This is going to be the review for Target April O'Neil. Um, I think it's the 6th or 7th episode of Season 2. I'm completely blanking on what number it is, but anyway, dare I say, best episode of the whole show so far? I really did enjoy this episode. It just had a bit of everything that I like in this show. It was the show focusing on the stuff that is interesting, making it good, advancing the plot, character stuff. It had a bit of everything that I like in the show, and I think because of that, it is probably my favorite episode so far. I don't know if that's just an initial reaction because I literally just watched the episode a few minutes ago, but I really did enjoy this episode. As I said, they had the April in it, who's obviously my favorite character and I think the most interesting character in the show. We got more on Casey Jones. They're really giving Donatello as a character something. There was a bit of Karai development, a little bit at the start with her and Shredder, and then the Krang also kind of showing themselves to be more than just random villains. They're actually doing something else. So a lot of stuff happened in the episode, and I just really loved it. So yeah, that's nice to see. That it'll at the very least best episode of this season so far, season 2. But into some specifics. I suppose with Karai in the episode, we had a little bit of a kind of moment at the start where I suppose she's maybe getting a little bit frustrated with her father and the kind of harsh way he treats her. You know, before the call finishes, she's clenching her fist like she wants to rebel against him or something like that. So there's definitely something coming up with her down the line, and I'm interested to see how that develops. He obviously warns her not to trust the Krang, and that backfires on her this episode. And then there's the kind of continuation of the fact that she doesn't like April, jealous of her or something like that. But there's definitely something there between those two, and like I called it probably like the second Karai was introduced, and then that the fight last season, and then this was the continuation of that. She just really doesn't like April, so I'm excited to see where that goes. We saw a much more kind of even fight here than the first one. April still, you can tell that she's still learning, but she's getting better all the time. That was good to see. And yeah, a little bit of continuation of the Leonardo and Karai thing as well, but not a whole lot in this episode. I'll just say it was good. The whole kind of super footbot thing. That's the main thing of this episode was interesting. I initially was worried it was just a plot device to keep the other three turtles away from April and Donatello for a while. But when it then activated and kind of went after April, I was delighted to see that. Okay, so they're gonna have all the turtles go to save April as well. So that was good. But yeah, that was Karai. April, obviously coming back into the episode again, she kind of, as I've kind of mentioned before, I've kind of had issues with the show when it's kind of been phasing her in and out of the show, yet I feel she's the most interesting character. I was so happy to see that she was basically the complete focus of this episode, ahead of the Turtles, just about, I think, and I'm happy that the show is getting to the stage where it's willing to do that. Especially in season 1, I really felt like the show was trying to stay away from keeping any character except from having any character except the Turtles in the main story. This one was a complete kind of April focused episode in many ways, so that was nice to see. Addressing what I wanted to maybe be addressed a little bit earlier on, but I liked the way it was done. Her getting over the issues she was having with the Turtles, realizing that she was kind of being mad at them for something that wasn't completely in their control, and if she being mad at them for an accident, they're just trying to save the world in the first episode. That happened to happen just out of the blue, and she was kind of holding them completely at fault for it, and they're her friends, and I really enjoyed how Casey was the one to kind of subtly kind of explain this to her. He doesn't know the whole thing about the turtles, yet he explains a story about one of his friends, and about an accident, and then that's what really hints to her that someone who I'm not mad at right now saying the same thing that the person I am mad at said earlier on with the April and Donnie scene at the start of the episode. That was really nice, and then after all the action, you get that apology scene when she just realizes that, you know, she doesn't want to hold a grudge ever again because it was bad, and like it nearly ended up with her being like killed and stuff like this. But yeah, it's just it's a good thing now that they're back together again. That kind of thing. I was like just waiting to finally get some form of a resolution. I feel the show in some of the other episodes, especially like the squirrel episode, it's kind of like been stalling for time until they wanted to do this, and I'm glad that like 6, 7 episodes in, we have that edited away and they can just be friends from here on out. And yeah, kind of transitioning into the Casey Jones thing, continuing the kind of thing about the little romance kind of triangle developing here. She kisses Donnie on on the cheek at the end of the episode because he saved her and looked out for her even when she was mad at him. She kept faith. He kept faith in her and stuff like this. And there's that. I still don't think there. It's still. I still think it's leading towards like this eventual just like heartbreaking moment for Donatello. In that, I think the Casey and April stuff they're setting up is like that's gonna be the ship. I think the main ship of the show. Um, and I'm just wondering kind of like how exactly they're gonna do it. I'm actually pretty interested to see what they do with it because it could be pretty big for Donatello as a character to have something like that emotional happen. Realize that maybe he's never gonna be with April and stuff like that, and there's the obvious setup of whenever Casey is actually introduced or meets the turtles for the first time and discovers the whole mutants thing. That's going to be a big moment too, to see if there any sort of jealousy, rivalry between the two, because in many ways they have similarities. You know, they both use wooden sticks as their weapons. You know, maybe they kind of have some form of like a bond over that, teaching each other some skills. But yeah, I enjoyed the Casey's involvement in the episode, even though in the grand scheme of things it was kind of minor, but kind of presenting him as a kind of good fighter against these upgraded kind of foot soldiers, and that he was not really in that much danger the whole time. And then April was portrayed as a better fighter as well. The episode just did a lot of stuff to really kind of soothe some of the kind of negatives I've had about the show. She's resuming her training with Splinter and so on, but yeah, just fun episode definitely. And then the other main thing would be the Krang and them turning basically on Karai, or at least preparing for like some form of a betrayal. They programmed him to attack Karai if she ever attacked it. So there's some interesting stuff going to come between the kind of villain groups in the series, and I'm interested to see where they go, because I think the biggest problem with last season, one of them anyway, was that as much as the Krang were the villains, I found it very hard to find them in any way threatening in the series. So if they do something kind of big here, not making them the main threat, but just having this kind of villain kind of fight for power, that could be really cool to see what happens. What Shredder's doing in Japan, what's his reaction when he comes back and finds out that they've kind of betrayed Karai a little bit, and how's he going to react to Karai kind of failing again? That's going to be interesting. I do wonder what exactly they're doing with the whole Leo, at the very least, knows that Karai is Splinter's daughter. Like, I feel like that's something that they should have cut to at the start of the very next episode. And it's my biggest kind of flaw with the whole show, in that should be something that is addressed straight away. That it makes no sense for the characters to not talk about that for multiple episodes, and then you only address it when the plot finally gets around to it needing to be addressed. I really feel that they need to kind of just tighten up the kind of season long writing, in terms of like, when you have a reveal that big, you kind of have to come back to it the next episode. It's something that the Legend of Korra does really well, and that I'm kind of struggling to think of something where they've done that, where they reveal something huge, skipped for multiple episodes and come back to it. But um, maybe middle of the Bossing Say arc in Avatar, they kind of had the Tales of Bossing Say and Appa's Lost Days, but there was the explanation in that they were kind of put into a position where they couldn't do anything, and then the Appa's Lost Days one was an important one. But with this, it's just like, technically this takes place after that, and they're not talking about it for some reason. I think it's kind of bad that I'm left kind of confused over, is Leo the only one who knows, or has he told Raph? Is he allowed to tell Raph? Is it still a secret among this group? And so on. What's going to be done about it? Are they trying to do anything about it? I just want it to be addressed, but that's just a minor complaint in the grand scheme of the episodes. As I said, best episode of the whole show for me so far. It was really that good. Lots of action, lots of character stuff, and most importantly, the show's focusing on the stuff that I think is the most interesting, which unfortunately is not necessarily the four turtles at this point in time. Donnie's kind of involved in it, Leo's kind of involved in it, but Mikey and Raph, I still think they need their kind of big moments. All of the turtles kind of need their big kind of character moments still, but I'm excited to see where the show is going, which is the main positive I think for the show. But that's been the review. Thanks for watching. Next review will obviously be sometime next week. Book 2 of Korra is over, so I'll be able to put the reviews up probably Sunday. So thanks for watching, and bye.